Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EDL Pre-Game Show. This is your host, Exernian, and I'm joined by Clutch and Matt Pizza. This week, I've actually fixed my audio settings, so let's just get right into it. So we're going to go with a recap of the first week. So looking at the first week, we had Literal Monkeys versus Subversive, and Subversive won in 2-1 series. Revolution versus Burger Flip, and Revolution came ahead 2-1. And of course, last week we had Chicago Dragons versus Chubby Babies Rookies as our stream game, and Chubby Babies Rookies won in a 2-0. Alright, Clutch, what do you think of the Literal Monkeys versus Subversive game?
Well, it was a pretty close series. I think that, in my opinion, like I said in the first podcast or whatever, pre-show, whatever it is, that
Yep.
Subversive is going to be my sleeper team. I actually think they were pretty good. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick a team. They're my sleeper team. And, hey, they ended up 2-1ing MIT. Who saw this coming? I don't think anyone did. But looking at the games a little bit, obviously they did lose game one. And I don't know how close it was. Do you know how close it was? I don't think it was that close, right? Like, didn't they just
Literal Monkeys did like Super Bowl game one.
Oh, yeah, that was not even close. Okay, so they kind of got slammed game one. Now, usually in silver leagues, people like to tilt a lot, all right? And if you get slammed in game one, your mental's a little bit out the window. And they're a rookie team. So that just makes it even worse. You think, this team's done.
Especially when we were going into it, too. Like, we had Literal Monkeys, like, favored to win. And then we're like, we don't know who Subversive is. Like, they're just coming in as a rookie team. Like, who are they, right? And then I don't know, like, I don't know how many people have listened to the podcast this week, but like we got to talk to Literal Monkeys, and they talked about how Subversive knew what they were doing. They were a coordinated team. Like, they're coming in as a team, like as a 5-man unit, which completely changes everything.
Yeah, and I mean, Subversive, after game one, took the mental reset, came out strong game 2 and 3, and ended up taking the series. And, Subversive on paper doesn't look like that super strong team that like is really going to slam you in the early game. They're proactive. They're making plays. It seems like they just were the better team fighting team. They just knew what their win con was, how to play fights. They chilled in the early game. They didn't need to, accelerate the game or anything. And then they just out team fought you. And I mean, hey, rookie team being good at team fighting week one looks pretty good on the resume if you are a Subversive Gaming fan. And I think if you're MIT, it's not the end of the world. Yes, you did lose week one, but you did take a game. It's not like you got 2-0. And you showed some signs of life. And one person I want to point out on MIT, Thievery, I think, had an amazing season. This guy has some really nuts stats. Dude has 30% damage share. Like, that is cracked. That's like insane. To have 30%. And it's not like he's getting like giga funneled. Like, yes, he did have 25% of the gold, which like you would expect like him to kind of do the most damage, but he's doing 30% of your team's damage share. That is like 1/3 of your team's damage. So I think he played pretty good. But yeah, like I said, Subversive coming out strong week one, didn't till after the first loss, ended up reverse sweeping our favorites to win it all.
That's crazy for me. And also what you were saying about Thievery, like for MIT, then their support was actually new to the team too. So like seeing them being able to give so many resources to Thievery, like I think they're just on their way to success.
One thing I do want to bring up is so MIT's Thievery, he had 30% of the damage share, but if you look at Subversive, it seems the damage is much more distributed. So it's like you said, MIT or Subversive knows how to like team fight. They're going in with a game plan. Whereas it seems for MIT, it seems like it's just Thievery trying to 1v5 and like almost do his best to try to carry the team. Like, not to say his team didn't put in work. Like, obviously they all like had some pretty good damage shares, but Thievery just has the most with 30%.
I just want to point out one more thing before you speak. Sorry.
So
I did some quick math because there are team stats that we did. And I wanted to take a look at them, bring them in, kind of get some analytics on the side too when I try to provide my points. So I took Subversive's kills like KP basically, I took their kills and assists, and I was like, okay, how many assists are Subversive getting on their kills? Because we say they're a good team fighting team, and that they like to play the game as a team. So I decided to take a look. Every single kill they get, they average 2.4 assists on. That is a lot. Like, that means they are really playing as a team.
Mhm.
Everyone's getting in on it. And with the damage shares being so close, like Matt Pizza stated, this team's really good playing as a team in a cohesive unit.
Yeah, I'm honestly really glad to see like Subversive showing such strong signs of life this early into the season. But okay, well, so we'll go to our next game. So that's Revolution versus Burger Flip, and Revolution won 2-1. So Revolution won the first game, lost the second game, and then won the third game. So let's start with Matt Pizza this time. What do you think went down?
All right. So after seeing the games, it seems like Rev's secret weapon is the jungler. Like this dude's coming in with 37, averaging 12 kills a game. Like he's in the mood to just carry his team to victory.
Exactly. That's like why he was my player to watch this series.
Yeah.
Like if I see him playing this well again this series, like I think I'd be very excited.
The only downfall was when he was put on Sejuani duty in game 2. Like he had the most kills, but at the same time he's playing Sejuani, so he really couldn't do much, right?
Yeah,
like Sejuani's
so
just like a tank.
I think with that too, it's like I think there are two options with that is either put him on carries or just get him to start giving the kills and resources into other people. But if he's the person who's making all of these plays and he's like starting everything, I feel like he should just be playing carries.
And we saw that with game 1 and game 3. I believe game 1 he played Olaf, and game 3 he played Fiddlesticks. Like he impacted the team fight so much with both champions, and he was like able to lead Rev to victory. And that's not to say that Burger Flip didn't play bad or didn't play well. Like they played really well game 2. Like I believe they were down like 8k or something, and they still managed to turn it around game 2. So it's bad to underestimate Burger Flip, but Rev was just
I
the better
think
team.
Burger Flip still doesn't have a top laner right now, so.
Oh really? Oh.
I just know they have a sub on their roster, and they'll probably use that.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're doing. But now I butt in. Okay.
Yeah, your turn. Go ahead.
I have to speak. So honestly, gonna be straight up. Rev should have won 2-0. I don't think. I think game 2, like you slam them game 1. Rev pretty handily beat them game 1. You get into game 2, you're so far ahead, you're probably just like, this game's in the bag. Like, we could literally troll and win. And so they were probably all laughing, having a good time, kind of letting a little bit loose, not really trying as hard. They start losing a fight. They get picked off. And then they're like, okay, guys, wait a minute. Like, they're actually starting to come back. And then the snowball started getting rolling, and they're like, uh-oh, we're kind of screwed. And then they lost game 2 because of it. And then game 3, they were like, all right, guys, let's just end this one quick.
No
and
more
they got
messing
back
around.
into gear and destroyed it.
To
be honest, I think game 2, they were like, okay, we're having a lot of fun. I don't think they're gonna come back. And then they kind of got caught off guard. And BFE took advantage of it, which I mean, like I said, veteran team, they're gonna take advantage of you kind of just having fun, trolling a little bit. Not to say, I mean, BFE, it's still hard to come back from that, man. Like, it's not an easy task to come down however, like 8k gold, like that's still pretty difficult. But yeah, I mean, Rev, I think played a pretty clean series. Even though it was 2-1, I think it still should have been 2-0. And I mean, their stats are ridiculous across the board. I think every player played exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think they all played really well. It's just that like I can't share spots in the power rankings, so I just ended up dropping them. So yeah, I mean, if they play well again this week, I will definitely move them back up. So.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Rev has a team KDA of 7.03, which is
yeah. Wow, we'll see how they keep that for this week.
Yeah,
but okay, so let's go on to the last and that was the stream game of last week. So it was Chicago Dragons versus Chubby Babies Rookies. Clutch, take it away.
I mean, if you watch the stream, Chicago Dragons, new team, a lot like Subversive, had a pretty good early game. I think they're the opposite of Subversive, where Subversive actually just takeovers in fights, but their early game don't really do much. They just rely on a strong team fighting team, like, that's their forte. Chicago Dragons, on the other hand, they popped off in the early game. These people were all over the map. They were winning At least game 2. Game 1 was like, I think it was pretty close, like 10 minutes. But game 2, they were up 3K on CBR at like 10 minutes. Like they were actually winning. But they're the opposite of Subversive, where the early game's good, but once you get past that, like they do not look like a coordinated team. One person I do want to point out real quick before you go, Skeet, this guy's an absolute monster. He is on one of the lower end teams, because it is only week 1. Dude, this guy's damage share is 31%. 31.
Yeah, and he played Echo both games, right? And it's not like he's like Galio or Twisted Fate or someone who can just like fly across the map. Like
no, like
he
this guy
knows what's going on. He sees it and he moves and he goes, or like the plays are around him, right? So
yeah,
obviously Chicago Dragons, they know that Skeet is someone to play around, and he knows like he has to be there, right?
Yeah, I think by far as of right now, with what we saw week 1, this is their all-star play. This guy's actually insane. I mean, unfortunately, his team isn't up to par, but being a carry player on a more bottom-end team is a lot more fun than being a carry player on like a top-end team, because you don't get to shine as much. You're kind of overshadowed by your team. Skeet, week 1, already looks like a superstar mid that could just take over games. And I watched the game. Obviously, I casted. This guy like solo killed people. It's in like 1v3. It's not even like he's like in team fights, his team gets aced, but or his team gets wiped, but he picks up a kill. No, this guy literally just jumps in and kills someone and Echo ults back. And I'm like, what?
And I can see that's why they moved him to the starting position mid, and they also changed their top laner. They moved Niz to a sub position. So I think that if like this iteration of the Chicago Dragons, if they can get in more practice and really like hone their strategies, I could definitely see them I could just see them grow so far from what happened in week 1.
Sure.
Like week 1 to like week 4 or 5, this could be a completely different team.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Matt Pizza,
what do you think?
Your turn, buddy.
Yeah, you've been brought in.
Yeah, I mean, like when we were watching the games, Skeet was definitely the player that was like trying his best, trying to carry the team. But it was just unfortunate. Like you said, they played really well in the early game, but since they are a newer team and it was their first game, they're still obviously gonna be lacking. But I mean, I think with time, they're gonna be one of the better teams, right? Like the more they practice, the better they get with their macro, and they'll be able to snowball their early lead to the point where they'll just be one of like the best teams. And anyway, that's my prediction anyway.
Yeah, so and with Chubby Baby's rookies, like they did have that sub Pitiful Junior. So I don't know if their starting mid is gonna play this week.
I think Pitiful is their new mid. I'm not 100% sure.
He was added as a sub. I don't know. I don't think he's the starting mid just yet.
I've heard rumors that he might be starting from now on, but I don't know.
We'll see this week. So
yeah, and I mean, we should talk about Chubby Baby's rookies a little bit, because since we did just talk about Chicago Dragons, they look clean. I think they played good. Like, I mean, it's obviously first 10, something to work on, but I mean, like, dude, you can't really complain. Like they were able to come back and game 2, easily execute what they wanted to do and just clean out, win the game. Like, I don't think Chicago Dragons really didn't.
Yeah, I think Chubby Baby's rookies, like I remember when I was watching the stream, like I definitely saw when that switch kind of flipped in them. They were like, this is when we win. We take these fights, we go, and we just win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I wish we could watch Chubby Baby's rookies again this week and just see how they play, especially since they're against they're against Burger Flip this week. So I think definitely, like, if they're able to do that same thing as they did the first week, I could just see Chubby Baby's rookies also just like accelerating how they've started the season, right? So because they're already off at a really good start.
And I mean, they only played 2 games, but they have the most towers taken. So they like the tutorial victory. They like demolishing all the structures.
It reminds me of like Cora JG's one tweet. It's like Chubby Baby's rookies would be like, "Why Burger Flip play 3 games when we only played 2?"
Yeah,
no fair.
Exactly. And I mean, they had an 8.68 KDA, so insane. Like, it was a pretty clean 2-0. Wasn't very much contest from the Chicago Dragons.
Do you
I
have
mean,
any
I also
yeah.
before 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 we move on, I just want to bring up Chubby Baby's top lane, Chef Boy, my boy Chef Boy out here. He's like, let's be honest, he was a pretty good top laner, like 13.5 KD. Like this man's a beast, by the way. But granted, they were playing against one of the lower end teams, so I want to see how he'll go up against someone like maybe
Like Subversive or MIT
yeah,
is what I would
Subversive or
say,
MIT.
or
One
even
of
Rev.
yeah,
Mhm.
like I want to see what will happen if he plays against maybe a bit of a better top laner. Is he still gonna gap them or is he gonna
Yeah,
be
it was a bit
exposed?
unlucky because he did go against Niz, who's a jungle main instead of a top
Hmm.
Yeah.
player. So yeah, definitely interesting to see.
But yeah, high
Oh,
hopes for him.
Mhm.
so I mean, this is kind of somewhat relevant, but not like super. Since Subversive has beaten MIT, they are 3-0 in their past 3 series, and they have played top teams. And this is like including ZGG. I mean, we
Mhm.
obviously don't like talk about that a lot. They took down MIT, and they just beat Feed the Dream. Like literally just beat them like 30 minutes ago. I just saw it.
Nice.
These guys look scary. Like they're looking really good. They're starting to get in form, and if they do get in form, they could be the best team in the league. Like I know we're not talking about them that much, but like they are looking pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie. They're on the come up for sure.
Yeah. These next coming weeks, I think it'll be really, really interesting because, like, I don't think there's a clear winner or clear, like,
Nope.
strongest team, right?
Mhm.
So it'll be super duper interesting to see. But okay, let's move on to our first game of the week. And so it's Subversive versus Chicago Dragons.
Oh no.
Subversive is 1-0. Chicago is 0-1 right now. So, Clutch, start with your prediction. You predicted 2-0 for Subversive.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, literally a minute ago, Subversive's on a tear right now in the amateur scene for Silver. They're starting to pick up traction and really are getting good with playing with each other. They're starting to refine that style, which is team fighting, and they're very good at it. And Chicago Dragons, newer team, we obviously saw last week they can struggle in those team fights and struggle in the mid game. And if that's what Subversive's strong at, like, oh God, I mean, like, I just think it's going to be politely, I'm going to say Subversive will win 2-0 without going into much detail.
Yeah, I said the exact same thing
all
as
I'm gonna
you.
say.
I said 2-0 for Subversive because, like, as you said, like, they're a good team fighting team, and we have Chicago Dragons. Like, I know Chicago Dragons, like, they have that potential. They can be a super duper great team,
Sure.
except this is the second week. They just made some roster changes. I don't think they'll be there yet. So with Subversive, they have that experience. They know what they're doing. So I definitely think that Subversive is going to pull out a 2-0 in this series.
I'm gonna have to like somewhat agree with you guys. I think Subversive will win the series, but I think Chicago Dragons will be able to take a game off of Subversive. Only because going back to what Cole said earlier, Subversive's early game is a bit weaker, right, than most teams. And Chicago Dragons have a strong early game, so I feel like if they can in one of the games, right, if they can somehow get a strong enough early lead, they like hopefully will have enough macro knowledge to just pull off the win, be able to destroy that Nexus. But I mean, granted, this is a shot in the dark. This is me trusting
Always a
that
faith
Chicago
believer
Dragons.
of the underdog story.
Yeah,
It's
didn't
yeah.
this? Who did this guy predict last week? He thought
No. Let's
BFT
not
would
talk
beat
about.
Rev or something.
Oh,
Like,
No.
just remember that.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. Okay, going on to game
Yeah.
2, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to mention was that so for Subversive and Chicago Dragons, for my power rankings, both of my players to watch were their mid laners. So took him as prime. He played the roaming mid laners. So we kind of have two opposites here. Took him as he played Twisted Fate, Galio, and then another champion I forgot. And then Chicago Dragons, Skeet, he played Echo 2 games in a row. So I think that like it really depends on how Tukamis will play around, or his team will play around him, or he'll play around his team because he's playing these roaming mid laners, right? Will he just like leave Skeet in the mid lane and then go make plays over the map, right? Like I think that could completely change. Like if he doesn't, or if he isn't able to make those kind of plays with like those kind of roaming mid laners or people with that kind of map presence, then yeah, I could see like what Matt Pizza is saying. Chicago Dragons could maybe sneak in a win.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got the tale of two mid laners. One that plays around his team and one that his team plays around him.
Exactly.
So, clashes of the style, the clash of styles. My bad. What the heck am I saying? Can't speak today.
Words English hard.
Yeah, English hard, man.
Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I think.
All right.
Yeah, that's
okay. Let's go
that's
to
it
the
for me.
next game. So we have Burger Flip Esports versus Chubby Babies Rookies. Burger Flip is 0-1. Chubby Babies is 1-0. And we all predicted a 2-0 for Chubby Babies Rookies. Matt Pizza, your thoughts and why?
My thoughts are going seeing Burger Flip in the first week, like they seemed to have a stacked team, right? Like all the players seemed like individually, at least they seemed to be very good, but like something just didn't click, at least in games 1 and 3, and they just fell apart, right? Like it's not to say they didn't have a good showing, they did have a good showing game 2, but it's just they didn't live up to the expectations that we wanted. And since we still have the same roster going in with no like roster changes happening, I it's hard to say that they'd win a game off of Chubby Babies Rookies, which, like, let's be honest, like that team looks pretty good as well, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I have to say it's 2-0 to Chubby Babies Rookies.
2-0 for Chubby Babies Rookies. I think also it's like how the last series was a battle of the two mid laners. I think this is like the battle of the two team mentalities. Like Burger Flip, obviously they lost their old team captain, their top laner. And as we're still recording this, like they don't have a top laner. Like, can they? Like, I don't even know if they're gonna use their sub. And Chubby Babies Rookies, like they're coming in from a 2-0 like series, and they're coming in with a stronger mental, right? So I think like even that could completely just wipe Burger Flip because they're just coming in stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think there's
There you
too
go.
much to really say about this matchup. Otherwise, like, I mean, it depends how Chubby Babies Rookies plays. Like, I could see Burger Flip maybe sneaking in a win on this series, but I don't see it being super duper likely. If you had to pick a percentage of the win here, what would you say? Start with you, Clutch. Or actually, yeah, Matt Pizza, go ahead.
Me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's really right. Like Chubby Babies will probably win, like maybe 90%, right? I think there's a 10% chance Burger Flip may win a game. Like it's on the really low end. And Cole?
80-20. It's silver. I still think that Chubby Babies Rookies are heavily favored. But I mean, Burger Flip down 8K took a game off Rev. So, I mean, like, you never know, right? Like, who knows? Maybe they literally flip the game twice and win somehow. You literally never know.
80-20.
So, but I still think 80-20. That's what I'm going to say. Yep.
Okay, 80-20. I'm thinking also 80-20. Maybe 70-30 if, like you said, if Burger Flip is able to kind of turn a big game around. But I think Chubby Babies Rookies was definitely a lot stronger in being able to just finish out games. So we will definitely see. All right, so then we will move on to the last and streamed match of the week. We have Monkeys in Training versus Revolution Esports. Or Silver, sorry. So MIT is 0-1 and Revolution is 1-0. And Clutch, you said 2-1 Revolution. Matt Pizza also said the same. And then I said and a sad face. So we'll start with you, Clutch.
What does that mean?
Okay. I'll explain my sad face.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, I made this graphic, and when I was writing my prediction, I was like, I kept writing. I was like 2-1 Rev, and I like deleted it. I was like 2-1 MIT, and then I deleted it. And then I was like going back and forth between the two teams because I think this series will be super duper close. And just watch, like, someone's gonna 2-0 and then I'm gonna be completely wrong. But obviously, as a stream match, we'll definitely see. Like, I think Revolution also is a really strong roster. They played super duper well the first week, and I think MIT is still coming in with a strong mental, right? I think both of these teams are really, really good. So it's really hard for me to say like who will win. I do think it might be a little bit Revolution favored, definitely because like they did win their first series and they won like really, really hard their first and third game. So I definitely think it's Rev favored just a little bit. But again, I could completely understand and see if MIT pulled out a 2-1 in this series as well, because I think that, like, I remember just talking to them in the podcast, like, if they're able to lock down their strategies, their execution, and, like, really hone in on, like, one idea and play to that idea, like, super well, then I could see them taking over Revolution. But those are my thoughts. That's why I said, in a sad face. So, Clutch, you want to support your 2-1 for Rev?
Yeah. So, Rev coming off a big win against Burger Flip. Despite Burger Flip, not really looking the best, Burger Flip is still like not a pushover team. They're still pretty good. They've got a lot of veteran players. I still think they're at the top echelon of the league. I mean, they did lose, so unfortunate for them. But not a hard, game for them. Or hard game for them. My bad. Not
League of Legends.
Yeah,
not a
seriously.
hard game at all.
But MIT Subversive, MIT, I think, was the favorites coming in week 1.
Yeah.
We all said that MIT is probably the number 1 team that we thought. They lost to Subversive. And that kind of is like, okay, wait a minute. Subversive was like, where did we have them? 4, 5 after week 1? Or before week 1? We didn't have them very high up.
Yeah, no, right? We had them at 5th. If I remember
we had
correctly.
them at 5th.
Yep, like they weren't even going to make playoffs, like looking before we even got into
so
yeah.
That for me is like, whoa, Subversive beat MIT. That's pretty crazy. And so you go into week 2. It's Rev versus MIT. MIT, they're going to be hungry for it. They're not going to want to lose. They are really going to want to win this series really hard. And I think their mindset going in this series is we have to win. You cannot start 0-2. It is pretty.
It's really it's really, really punishing. Yeah.
Yeah. You start 0-2, you are already looking at like 3rd, 4th. Just because it's a 5-week league, you only play 5 series.
Yeah.
So you already dropped 2. You have to go like 3. You have to win the next 3, and that's really hard for them. So this, for them probably is a must-win series, and it's against Rev. So like you kind of got some rivalry going on because people don't know the history. Is actually old MIT people that left MIT.
Sorry, you cut off for a second. You said Rev?
Oh, Rev is old MIT people. Like they left MIT to make their own org. So like there is some history between these 2 orgs, and none of them's gonna want to lose. The reason why I say Rev 2-1 is because I think they looked like the more consistent team in week 1. They looked very good, besides like the game 2 just trolling. But what I'm going to be looking forward to, and this is going to be really hype for me, is the jungle matchup. You got BDN Zygon, probably butchered that, taking on Ambition. And, people know these 2. They are both very good. I would slot them as number 1 and number 2 junglers in the league right now. They are both very, very talented, and they are both extremely detrimental to their team's success. And whoever gets ahead in the jungle in this game or this series, I think is just going to win their team the series by far. Ambition and Zygon are very good junglers, and they are very good at working around their team. They can carry, and they can also, be the role player that you need to just play tanks. Obviously we saw Zygon play a tank, and kind of not hoping that happens again, but he can do it. So I just think Zygon week 1 looked better than Ambition. 37 kills to 13, it just, kind of looks better.
I know. So this is like the Subversive and Chicago Dragons game where I was talking about how both of my players to watch were their mid laners, and both of my players to watch this week are their junglers.
Yep.
So again, it's like playing around. Is the jungler like playing for their team, playing for themselves? It's like those 2 battles, which I think is Definitely gonna be super duper crazy and interesting.
And it's
to
on
watch this
stream,
week.
so
And it's on
like
stream.
it's
We're
gonna be a
hear
banger.
you just like mauled over it, or
Okay. It's going to be a banger. That's all I'm saying. It's a really good matchup, and I'm excited that this is one of the series streamed because it is one of the best series, I think, in the entire season. It'll be a good one for sure.
yeah, definitely. I think if I wanted to pick another game to watch this week, I would have wanted to watch Subversive versus Chicago Dragons.
Yeah, I think that one would be decent. I think the other two, in my mind, are pretty equal.
Yeah.
And like, hype. Like they're gonna be good games to watch. I don't think they're gonna be like super amazing, but like they'll be good games. I just think MIT Rev.
I do like the backstory of this one. It's like you're coming from what's it? It's like you're coming in with a vengeance. That's the word.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to just defeat everything that I hated. I don't know. All right, Matt Pizza. What are your thoughts on this match? Matthias Pizza. You said 2-1 for Rev as well.
I mean, I was gonna talk about Zygon, but then Cole just kind of like stole the thunder.
yeah.
So, let's talk about their ADC, right? Less Panks.
Less Panks.
I've definitely butchered that, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, yeah, he had a good showing, right? Like, obviously he was kind of shadowed by the jungle gap that was happening, but let's not talk about that since we already talked about it. He did pretty well, right? Like him and his support Misty, Azzy, like those two they were dictating the bot lane, like they were coming in telling the other bot lane what's up. But I think them compared to Subversive, it just seems that like Subversive's ADC, like it's not to say he doesn't look good, he looks good, but I just think Rev's ADC is just better. Rev's ADC bot lane combo is just better than Subversive. So for that reason and the jungle reason, more so the jungle reason, I think
Sorry,
that...
I'm just gonna correct you. This is Rev versus MIT.
Oh, Rev versus MIT.
You don't even know what series he's talking about.
No, I don't.
Oh my god.
Rev and Subversive. That's not until week 4, my friend.
Yeah,
I'm
Matt.
predicting.
Thinking ahead.
I'm predicting the future.
No,
right
just
here.
see week 4, like it's all gonna come true.
And then I'm gonna tell you guys to pull up the podcast, and then you guys are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh,
oh my god,
prophet or what?"
We knew it. How did he know? He's actually a time traveler.
Okay, to talk about the game that we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
Rev versus MIT.
Yes, Rev versus MIT.
Yes, that is the stream game.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about the top laners this time. So Zillick. I definitely butchered that one.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
No, I don't. Zillick, right, for Rev
I think it's like Zilliak or something. Zilliak. I don't think I'm saying it right either. But yes, it's okay.
It's their top laner.
Yep.
He had a good showing, right, in week 1 games. He seems to be more of like a support top laner type of carry person, because like over the 3 games that they played, he was averaging or he had 41 assists over 3 games, right? Like he plays for the team. But then MIT's top laner, he like tries to play for the team, but he doesn't do it as well as Zillick does. So I think if Zillick can like play for the team, help out the jungler, get some top jungle synergy coming in, maybe also help Zygon out, maybe make him the carry player that Rev needs. Rev will have the edge and be able to 2-1. And I say 2-1 because from week 1, when they just goofed up game 2, I don't want to say it might happen again, but there's a strong likelihood that if they underestimate this team going into game 2, that it might just backfire on them, like they did with Burger Flip.
Yeah, I think Rev might also just be a bit more inclined to just try and pull a 2-0, because I know somebody got a bit upset at me for my power rankings and dropping them, but it's all the more reason for them to play better and play like the best they can, pull out a 2-0, right? Like even what Cole said, there's that backstory, and maybe they just want to prove me wrong. Yeah. So.
One more thing I want to say. So to void all of what Matt Pizza just said, I don't think Ziliak's playing Friday.
Rip.
Okay, well,
It's
So just
okay.
avoid everything you just said.
this just cut out the last like.
You didn't
I'm
even
not-
stop him.
15
You just let him
minutes, man.
talk, and then now you're like, okay,
Yeah,
so.
I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure, but what they did tell me is they don't think he's playing. So like
Okay.
as of right now, so he could, you never know, but I'm pretty sure he's not. So.
All right, yeah. So you're a good friend, is all I'm saying.
I mean, I could have interrupted you, and we could have just sat there for a solid 3 minutes and been like,
Yeah. All right.
I had to
Man,
give you
I'm
your
getting.
spotlight, man.
I
This
don't want to
guy
be in the
doesn't even have
spotlight,
a
man.
rebuttal.
I don't know. I don't want to be in the spotlight. The spotlight's scary.
Is that why you always play the Orn?
Oh no! We're not
Wait, should I pull up the
When I
clip?
bring this up on the EDL podcast, is that
Gonna bring up the clip? Matthias
no?
Pizza the
Let's not.
third.
We're not bringing up the clip. We're not bringing up the clip. Let's just yeah. What else do we have to talk about? Right? Like I mean,
Yeah, what do we have actually?
Well,
We got anything else?
there's not too much left. That's all the matches for this week. We talked about last week.
Anyone got a question? I mean, kind of stealing your thunder, I guess, because that's probably what you were about to say.
Nah, that's not what I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna like direct that to the audience. Like, anyone have a question? Because we can totally
no.
like see
meant-
the questions in
meant-
the Twitch chat right now.
The
No,
Twitch chat, yeah.
I meant like you guys, because I did week 1, so like
Oh, okay.
what do you guys should do this week? Kind of getting what I'm putting down.
Am I picking up what you're putting down?
I don't think I'll be able to pick up what you're putting on that fast.
I'm putting down what you're picking up.
Okay, so do you want me to ask another question or what? Because I asked the week 1 question.
Sure.
I was like,
It's okay. Go.
Maybe spread the spotlight a little bit, give you guys the opportunity. Okay. I gotta think of something now. I thought you guys were gonna do something. Well, because last week I was like, oh, who's your player to watch for this week? Who's gonna be really good?
All right, I'll take the spotlight.
I totally had a question from last week. I was like, who do
okay,
you think's
Matt
gonna
Pizza?
win? Okay,
I'll take.
Matt
So
Pizza.
as we know,
Yep.
Patch 11.4 is coming out soon, and with 11.4 comes a lot of jungle nerfs, right?
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
How do you
100%.
think that's gonna impact some of these carry junglers that we have, like Zygon and Ambition?
Well, Zygon isn't even like playing the carries yet, but I could definitely see like, wow, yeah, I could definitely see like that hurting.
Yeah.
Revolution.
I think personally, like, a lot of the supportive junglers in this league are going to get a lot of like just a buff because they already like playing around their team, and especially with the jungle nerfs coming in, it's going to be like if you're a jungler, you actually need to make something happen. So some of these junglers might like to wait it out, but if you do that, like I think in the meta, at least for the next patch, you're going to be like significantly behind. Like you need to be proactive and get things done. And I'm not saying any of these junglers can't do that. Like, I mean, jungle's going to get a little bit nerfed, which is like going to bring down their stats a little bit and bring up everyone else's. I think that personally myself, one of the junglers that's going to thrive off this, I think, is going to be Swag Money Boy. I mean, I said week 1, this guy just loves playing around his team. He has the highest KD in the league at 16. 12, 2, and 20 week 1, and he loves playing around his team. He doesn't do a lot of damage. He played the Ivern, I believe it was.
Oh yeah, 2. The Ivern.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is perfect for him. He already plays around his team. He doesn't take any resources. He's 21% gold share. That's like nothing. He doesn't take like any of the resources. And he enables his team. So like, I think this is the perfect patch for him. He's really gonna be having a good time. He loves to get things done. He loves to be that jungler that is like, you know what? Take my jungle. It's all yours. You guys can carry me. I'll throw a shield on you with Ivern. I'll send out Daisy. Daisy will go walk at him. So I think he's gonna have a pretty good time, and I think he'll rise to the top in junglers. I mean, I have him at number 3 right now in my own personal rankings. He could shoot up after a week or 2.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. I think if this game were to happen, like with the jungle, jungle changes are coming. Wait, did they already patch in?
No.
Am I going crazy?
They didn't patch yet.
Okay.
I think it's Thursday. I might be wrong, but I know it's this week.
Yeah.
Or something.
Oh, so they're playing on this patch though with the jungle changes.
They should be, yes.
They should be.
I'm 90% sure that the patch is on Thursday, which for us, since we're recording on Wednesday, would be tomorrow, which means they would have one day of the patch, and then they would go and play a game, which, I mean, we could see some sloppy games. But all I'm saying is, supportive junglers are very happy. Well, they might not be happy, but they are not as mad as some of these carry junglers that really like, taking over the game, jungle diff.
Yeah.
They're not going to be having as good of a time with this.
Then do you think they're going to have to change who they play around? Like, I think MIT and Revolution, like, their jungler, they're still, like, one of the main reasons, like they pull wins, right? Like, I think that'll really change, like, how they have to play.
I think, like, you can still play around your jungler. It's just gonna be a lot harder because obviously with the nerfs to the jungler, you're like the jungle camps and stuff like that in general, you're just not gonna be getting as much gold and resources and XP and all that. You're not gonna be getting as much. So yes, you can still play that style. And I mean, Rev and MIT could probably still do that, right? They're good enough to do that. It's just not gonna be as efficient and it's gonna be a lot harder to do. So I mean, if they want to do that and they can pull it off, props to them. Beautiful. But it's going to be a lot more flexible where they can play this supportive style. And, I mean, obviously, as Matt Pizza pointed out, Zygon has, he has 37 kills, but he still has 29 assists. It's not like he's not, like, helping his team. Like, yes, he is a carry player, but he's still, like, getting things done on the map. Ambition, 32 assists. Like, these players are still getting things done for their team. And even though that they're carrying, they're still enabling their team, too, through carrying. I mean, it sounds kind of counterproductive that you're enabling your team through taking all the resources.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot easier to, tell your team, okay, guys, we're going to give this one player on our team resources, and your job is to keep them alive. I don't care how you do it, but that is your job. A lot easier than, okay, we have 5 players that all get equal resources, and you all play for yourselves. Like,
Yeah, I think with Rev also, like, their whole series in the first week, they got first blood in every single game. So I think, like, even with the jungle changes, if they can just take a game, like, by the horns at the beginning of the match in, like, the first, like, 10 minutes, they can just, like, run over MIT with it. If they're able to take that lead and just snowball.
They got first blood, first Drake, first Herald. They got all the Heralds in their series. They got, like, literally the max. Crazy. 3 games, 6 Herald. So, like, they are, for sure, really taking advantage of the early game. They are getting things done on the map, and, Zygon, probably the key factor to that. But yeah, I think the patch will be how these teams, like, kind of evolve. It for sure will benefit the teams that are a lot more, have supportive junglers instead of carry junglers. I think will benefit their team a lot more. But it's not saying that, like, players who are, like, more carry oriented are gonna be just, like, killed. They'll still be able to carry. It's just gonna be harder.
Yeah,
Matt Pizza, you got anything?
Yeah, Matt Pizza.
Yeah, I mean, you were the one who asked the questions.
Yeah.
I did ask the question, and you guys kind of said everything that I was thinking about.
Head empty, no thoughts.
I was just like, I did ask the question, but I would have liked a chance to talk. So I'm just gonna say, I agree with everything you guys said. So, yeah.
Nice. I mean, I don't know how much time we have left.
So we went around, like, 4 minutes over the first week, and we're hitting about 45 minutes. So.
Okay. So we have, like, what, 5 more minutes ish?
Yeah.
Pretty close. Okay, so can I ask a question for the last 5 minutes then?
I will switch the graphic to something I should have switched to, like, 10 minutes ago. Yep, okay.
So week 1. Okay. A lot of these players we're talking about, Zygon, Chef Boy, like, a lot of these carry players. Who in your guys' eyes, I mean, this is after week 1, so you don't have a lot of stats to go, is, like, your underdog player? Someone who doesn't get talked about a lot, but you think should be talked about, like, doesn't get in the spotlight, but you think is, like, a key part of their team, and is kind of a little bit overshadowed by the carry players.
I think So for at least Revolution, they did use a sub. So Mystic Azzy, they played. I remember watching them play Leona. Like, I swear, this person was playing like better than I play. Like, they were all over the map. Like, as a support, being able to make good roams and help your team like as often and if not more than your jungler or mid laner, that's something that like goes unnoticed in just so many games and leagues I see. So I think they deserve a lot of credit, especially for the first week. Even if they're not playing this week, definitely how they played. I just want to like give them a shout out.
Okay. Matt Pizza.
As for me, I think Pitiful Junior from Chubby Baby's Rookies, right? Like, I mean, granted, we don't know if he's a sub or if he's a
He's a
starting
sub
mid
now.
yet.
He's
He is a sub.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It would have been good to see more of him because in that gallery game that we watched, he forced the fights. He was the one that was like, "All right, team, listen here, we're fighting right here, right now. Let's go." And he kind of like dictated what was happening, and like eventually led his teams to victory. So it was really good to see that coming out of a mid laner. But since he is a sub, I mean, I don't know if we'll see much more of him. So with that being said, um, uh, hmm. Honestly, probably Serm from Burger Flip, right? Like, I mean, granted, we've talked about BNG a lot, but I think,
BNJ.
or BNJ, sorry.
You're fine.
But Serm, I think, does have the potential to be one of the better mids of the league. But I mean, granted, it's just how the team dynamic works, and if he's able to like pop off and like a bunch of factors go into it, right? But like, I want to see Serm pop off. I think he, if he does, he'll be a player to watch. But
yeah, something we mentioned earlier, like in last week as well, was like with Blood Beast too. He and Serm like have known and good synergy. Like I think with the jungle changes, if he could just kind of help Serm get ahead, funnel resources into him, I could definitely see Burger Flip like having a win con that they could easily just execute.
Yep. All right. Well, I mean, I guess it's I asked the question, so I got to have a response to it. So I think I'm gonna have two, and it's actually gonna be a bot lane. Brave X and Rook Cauldron of Chubby Baby's Rookies. I think they're extremely underrated. These two, you know, we had question marks coming in. I know on week one pre-show or whatever. Of okay, we know who Swag is, we know who Chef Boy is. What is the bottom side of the map going to do? How good are they going to be? How are these rookie players going to be? How are they going to fit in with the team? Bunch of question marks. I still don't think all of them are answered, but I have a clearer picture. Rook Cauldron and Brave X, I think, played a fantastic series. Especially Rook Cauldron. This guy, 34 assists. Yeah, definitely for sure was making a lot. 70% KP, like just 74%. Like he has as much as his mid. And, mid was obviously an E-sub. We already a little bit talked about Pitiful Junior. But, I mean, I'm going to be watching this bot lane. I think Brave X and Rook Cauldron, are quietly making a name for themselves. They don't, really talk a lot, as in, trash talk. They're kind of just that silent bot lane that, they're going to be good. And, they're just going to let their play speak for themselves.
Yeah, they just, show up and play well.
Yeah. And
I have a lot of respect.
Yeah, for sure. That's those are my two players. I think throughout the season they're really going to develop into this topper echelon of bot lanes, and I mean we'll see how they do. Week one looked pretty good. Week two, we'll have to see how they do up against Burger Flip, which Burger Flip's bot lane. We touched a little bit on it, but BNJ I think looked very good. So that'll be a good test for them.
Yeah, I think this week will again be super duper interesting, and the stream match MIT versus Rev. I'm gonna be super excited to watch that. Well, I think that's actually all the time we have today. So everyone listening, please stick around for the stream match MIT versus Revolution. It's gonna be a really good series. That's what I'm thinking.
For sure.
All right, that's all we have for today. Peace.